What is up? Welcome to the NBA Rundown, brought to you courtesy of Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. I'm your host, Fred Astaire, joined today by Tyler Hicks and Glockoma, the Mavericks fan. If you watched the show on Friday, you probably weren't happy for me. I thought that we'd be having the funeral today. I thought they'd be down at least 3-1. I thought Phoenix would split. The Mavericks come back. A lot of my criticisms of that team was Luka being too selfish, not getting his teammates involved, tiring himself out. He fixed those problems in Dallas. We will see what happens tonight, but you have to be happy, Glock. What are your thoughts on the Mavericks bouncing back?
Yeah, I mean, after the first two games, I don't know. It kind of tilts me when national media people are like, "Oh, he's too selfish. He needs to get the others involved." I mean, they didn't want to get themselves involved, and like we always say, like when these road players go on the road, like it's a whole different ball game, right? And you saw that it's like a tale of two games, right? None of the secondary guys after the first two games, I tweeted, "All right, there's no way Luka Doncic can sustain 40% usage rate." And also be expected, to play like heavy defense because if you remember that second game, he was just getting criticized heavily for getting cooked.
Well, he
They were
deserved it.
hunting him on the pick and
Yeah.
roll, whatnot. But literally, he was doing everything. Like he was doing everything for the team, especially in the first half, and no one would step up. And I tweeted, I was like, it's really going to come down to if a secondary or third guy can get 20 plus for us because obviously Luka's going to get his. They're not really double teaming him. So they're kind of letting him get his and making the other guys beat him. So, obviously when they went home, these secondary role players, Jalen Brunson game 3, Dorian Finney-Smith in game 4, they stepped up to the plate. So, I mean, the key is going to be if one of these guys can step up on the road, and that's a big if because in the first two games it didn't seem like anyone was willing to do that or could do that. So, yeah, I'm excited. I mean, like they always say, the series doesn't start until a road team wins. So I don't know. I feel like the momentum is on the Mavs side. After those first two games, you were kind of like, okay, what is the Mavs' path to victory? Because Luka's getting his stats, but they're not really being competitive in games. And then you see these last two games, I would say it gives them kind of hope because we haven't been beating Phoenix ever since Luka got drafted. And now that we've taken two straight off of them, it's given us some hope. And I'm hopeful as a Mavs fan. I was excited from what I've seen these past two games. Obviously, the refereeing is the officiating is a little questionable for sure, and we can discuss that. But just that huge key, in my opinion, Luka's going to get his. Can someone else step up to the plate and produce? Because obviously, one person can't do it all. So that will be the huge test going into game 5 on the road, and then obviously it always is going to feel good to go back home. Obviously, we get a guaranteed game 6, so that should be fun for sure. And yeah, I'm excited to break down this slate. But yeah, I'm more excited to be a Mavs fan for sure because after those first two games, it was definitely looking grim, no doubt.
All right, so it seems like we got to the same end result there, but different ways, Glock. Because I know you said that those other guys didn't step up. I don't think Luka gave him much of a chance, man. He was dribbling up the court, going straight to his pick and pop, getting blitzed, popping it to Kleber, whoever set the screen. Brunson's over there in the corner. Now, was it Kidd? Was it Luka? Was it a combination of the both? But it felt like to me that he did a better job of making sure his teammates were involved, and that's part of being a leader and, understanding the flow of the game. It's something that Jordan needed to learn, because especially kids who didn't watch it all, people think that Jordan's career started in 89 or 90 when he started winning titles. No, he had 7 years of kind of doing the same stuff. Now, he was always a little better than Luka defensively and a lot better conditioned, but it was the same idea. He didn't trust his teammates, and it just made it too easy to defend. So regardless of how that happened, right? Because you said they need to step up. I said he need to give them an opportunity, but it came together and it worked. So congratulations to them. Tyler, how did you see that? Did you feel that that Luka, the other guys stepped up, or do you think Luka gave them a little more of an opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, some guys, they definitely stepped up. I mean, Luka did pass a little bit more, but I think Phoenix just played two very bad games. One for sure in game 3. I mean, they turned over the ball 17 times in that game. Booker scored 18 points on 6 for 13 shooting, and Paul had 12 points. The last game yesterday, That one was just one of the worst officiated games I've ever seen. And just like Mangone says, it's like these early games were like that would have been like a noon game for Phoenix. They're wacky sometimes. Like they had that schedule backwards yesterday. They had the West Coast teams playing first and the East Coast teams playing
Yeah,
late.
why was that? That was kind of odd, huh?
Yeah, I'm not
because
sure.
everyone wants to see your guy Embiid. He's just the marquee guy that they want to bring in the ratings.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. But I mean, and then Chris Paul had one of the worst games he's ever had last night.
One thing, Tyler. I mean, okay, yeah, Phoenix is playing bad. Obviously, they haven't shot under 50% like in the entire playoffs until these last two games. But an underrated, like everything I keep seeing is like, okay, Phoenix is just playing bad. No one is really ever giving credit to the Mavs and like how good of defense Dorian Finney-Smith, Reggie Bullock are actually playing on these two guys. I mean, these guys aren't scrub defenders, and obviously, like people are finally opening their eyes. Like the Mavs have some wing defenders: Kleber, Dorian Finney-Smith, Bullock. Like these guys can defend. And one underrated aspect I think is not being touched on. I touched on the playbook yesterday, but ever since game one started, there's only been 1 day of rest for each team. And when you're talking about Chris Paul, 37 years of age, after that first round, having to carry the team for a few games, like I think that's really underrated. And in the playbook, I wrote, it will be interesting to see how Chris Paul responds after that Friday night game, going into a really short turnaround into an afternoon, Sunday matinee game, right? And obviously he was refereed like terribly, but I feel like when you're tired and you're not like 100%, like I feel like he needs 2-day rest, and you kind of make those like chippy plays, like you kind of get lazy on the defensive end, like going for the rebounds and stuff like that, really lazy picking up those crappy fouls. But I feel like that's really underrated aspect. And Phoenix and Dallas, they're only going to get 2 days of rest if it goes to game 7. So you're going to get 1 day of rest from here on out until game 7, which would be on Sunday, I believe. So I just think it's interesting because, I see everyone
I think
saying
they would
Phoenix.
get 2 games. I don't think there's a game scheduled for Friday.
No. Yeah, exactly. Game 7, they would get 2 days. So they have a Tuesday and a Thursday, and then it's scheduled for Sunday. So that would be huge for Chris Paul, I think, if it gets there, because, going into game 7 at home, you're going to get Chris Paul rested finally. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out. I just think it's an underrated aspect because, I'm watching these press conferences of the Mavs. There's no secret that they know Chris Paul's old, right? Reggie Bullock, they ask him like, what are you guys doing to keep CP3 down? He's like, CP3's 37. I'm 31. This is a direct Reggie Bullock quote. He's like, I hope I have more stamina than him, and I just want to make it tough on him the entire game. And then Dorian Finney-Smith, after yesterday's game, he was like, CP3's a little older. We just want to make it tough on him the entire game and hope he gasses out towards the end. So I just think that's one key point that, people aren't really talking about, this 1 day of rest for the 37-year-old Chris Paul. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on the rest. But the other thing too is like we've seen this with quarterbacks in the NFL. When they go from playing a 1 p.m. game to a 4:15, it throws their routine all out of whack.
Correct. Yeah, and that time difference, like
in these like 10 p.m. games, just absolutely annihilate teams. Maybe it was just one of those things too, where like it threw his routine all off, so it just threw him into whack. Then the thing happened with the fan, and it just threw him all off for the whole game. But they are definitely playing some good defense. I will give them that. But I think the Suns played 2 bad games also.
Reggie Bullock has to get all the credit, I believe, because he's really big on Chris Paul and he's causing him issues. So let's talk about the evening game, though, Tyler. Your guy Embiid gets it done again. The Phantom of the Opera mask was in full effect. What was not in effect was the Heat's ability to shoot their 3-pointers, going 7 of 35 from behind the arc. An absolute terrible performance. Some of those misses, hey, let's give Philadelphia some credit, right? A lot of them were wide open, though. Miami just missed a lot of open shots. We talked before about Milwaukee doing this too, funneling all the shots to the poor shooters, but still, you got to expect that Miami's going to knock some of those down in game 5. It'll be interesting to see if Harden still has his burst that he showed in the last couple of games, shooting much better too. So the way Harden shoots it almost makes him more, not being as fast, makes him more enjoyable to watch because it's less of those ticky-tack fouls and more of the great shooting display. But regardless, that series got evened up. Tyler, start with you. What were your thoughts on the Heat and the Sixers?
Yeah, I mean, I know it's going to sound crazy, but missing Dedmon last game was big because you've seen once Bam had to go out with foul trouble, they didn't have another big to put on the floor to guard Embiid, so they had to almost go into a zone. and they got picked apart at the end of the game. There was one key play at the end of that game when they were coming back. They got Philly to miss the initial shot, but no one under the rim could get the ball, and Embiid tips it out. Maxey sets it up at half court, and Harris just lurks behind the guy on the corner of the zone and catches the alley-oop. And that puts them up, I think, 5, and then Harden comes down and hits the 3 that seals it. But being in that zone is what's really screwed them, I think. So they definitely need that backup big to help stop Embiid. And even if he's not 100%, he's not putting up the crazy stat lines like he used to. Just like you guys said, when he's back, he's just that giant focal point you have to worry about. And it's just, I think it's causing Miami fits. They just don't have an answer for it outside of Bam and Dedmon sometimes, but you can only use him in little spurts.
What did you see in that game, Glock?
Yeah, I mean, one word that, I've heard flung around lately that I love is like the gravity of a really talented player, right? And you see that when Embiid gets, inserted back into the lineup, because the gravity of a MVP candidate. Sorry, Tyler, I know he didn't win it today, but you can't underestimate that gravity, right? You saw game 3 right away. They're doubling Embiid, or he just has so much gravity that it just makes it easier for everyone else. And you saw that Danny Green, right? What was he like? He didn't miss from 3. And obviously, he's not going to get those looks without Embiid. So you saw that in game 3, and then game 4, honestly, like, it just makes the game easier for everyone. Like, and you saw Harden finally come out of his shell, show us like what he actually can do and what we're familiar with him being able to do. So yeah, I mean, I love this series. Like, I just think they're all interesting now. I love it that, we were getting 2-2 series in both sides, from the slate of games that we saw yesterday. And yeah, I mean, I think Philly is the clear, they don't have an answer for Embiid. And, as time progresses, I saw in his press conference yesterday, he's just going to feel better and better. And he just keeps saying, like, I'm playing terrible, but, at least we're coming through the wins. And then, as each day passes, I'm going to get healthier and healthier. And then, but he said, by the time I get to Miami, hopefully I feel like really good. And yeah, I mean, I think Philly's going to take this series. I don't think Miami has an answer for them. They just have too many weapons. And obviously I think we saw Jimmy Butler's, best performance yesterday, and they couldn't come out with the win. So yeah, I lean the Philly side. And, unless Kyle Lowry can kind of get, like, I don't know what's up with him. He just looks terrible, right? And
he's not healthy.
Yeah, he just doesn't look right. And they're going to need him or Tyler Hero to be a huge X factor. And I don't know if they'll be able to do it. So that's why I lean Philly.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm glad you're having a take there. I think it's interesting with both the 2-2 series, right? So tactics changed in the Dallas series, but in this series, Embiid changed, right? So it's like, I think that you give Philadelphia a little bit of an edge compared to Dallas as far as just not reverting back to the home team's going to win every game. Be interesting to see how that game goes. But not only is that interesting, but tonight's games are interesting. Let's jump into that right now. The Boston Celtics are now +1. They're in Milwaukee, taking on the Bucks with a total of 212.5. Tyler, I know that you and I are on opposite sides here. You already spoiled it on Friday, so the whole chat knows what I'm on. Let everyone know what you're on.
I mean, you kind of spoiled it right there because everyone knows you're just going to take the Bucks, so that means I'm on the Celtics. But I mean, there's a stat where ever since they made that trade, they got rid of Schroeder and they went on that tear through the regular season. They're like 8-1 after a loss. We've seen what they did after the game 1 loss. They came out and just punched his team right in the mouth. Yep. Now, I don't think they do that here, but I do think they pick up the win because they know they can't go back home down 3-1. So, and you look at last game, I mean, do we think Tatum's going to shoot that bad again? I don't think so.
Maybe. We said that about KD every
He has
game.
been all series, kind of, sort of, right?
I mean, he played good in game 2, but, I mean, Jaylen Brown's still going to play his game. I think Horford plays his. And we seen this in game 1. I said the same thing, Spread. I was like, these role players for the Bucks, they're hit or miss. They showed up last game. You had, what was it? Lopez had a double-double. Pat Connaughton had 11 and 8. Portis had 9 and 7. They had role players that played good. The game before that, none of their role players hit double digits, and they got blown out. So really, I think it comes down to those guys. Giannis is going to get his, but it's just as long as these guys are hitting their shots, if they can stay in the game. And I don't trust these guys. I'm going to take the Celtics to pick up the win here.
Yeah, we're definitely opposite there. I got to jump in on this, though. Schrader will never get that big contract. Terrible. Is it really terrible? Really? Does he
It
really
saved
deserve it?
saved some pain.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really feel bad for the dude. So we are on opposite sides here. Tyler likes the Celtics. I like the Bucks. Tyler's thinking that Tatum's going to bounce back. My thing is Jaylen Brown going to do as well? Is Al Horford going to do as well? I mean, just assuming that even if Tatum goes better, I don't know if we can just throw Horford in for another 22 and 16 or whatever he had the last game. Break the tie, Glock.
Yeah, I'm on Milwaukee here. I mean, I think like we see the pattern with these, like Tyler brought up the role players in Milwaukee, right? Like I feel like they're at home, they feel comfortable and they're just going to keep it rolling. Like I think that lineup change from taking Bobby Portis out and inserting Grayson Allen in is a little more underrated than people think. Like I just feel like, three big bodies in there versus, two and then a guy that can really stretch it out. That's going to make a world's difference for someone like Giannis. And we saw that in game 3, right? Like he just did whatever he wanted and got whatever he wanted. And then, it produces upside for Brook Lopez as well. He doesn't have to compete for as many rebounds with Bobby Portis. So I think that was a very big lineup change for Bud. And I'm actually surprised that he did it because I don't think he's a good coach at all. But I think that was a very sharp move by him personally. And like Grayson Allen sucked and he's been actually playing really well in the playoffs. So, that's one player you can consider that he can get hot from beyond the arc today and, just drain like 5 to 7 threes, just like Dorian Finney-Smith did yesterday. So I love that change for Milwaukee. I definitely am on that side today. I think they just continue the home cooking personally. And I know Tyler likes the Boston Celtics. So like, obviously tying it up 2-2 would be good, but I think Milwaukee takes a 3-1 lead here. And yeah, for fantasy purposes, obviously Giannis is going to be the top spend of the night. It's kind of, I don't remember last year, but is it always like, I don't know. It's like I have short-term memory loss, but I feel like, was it like this last year where it was the same slate every day? Like the same 2 games we're playing every day?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Yeah, because I feel like, maybe like the NBA could have scheduled 1 day of break in between and like, switched it up a bit because it feels like we are literally just playing the same slates every day. And it gets a little bit old, but, it makes things a little more predictable for us, right? Because obviously, today you're going to have Giannis as the premier spend up. And then tomorrow it'll be Luka again, right? So those are like the guys that are over 11K, like on each site that'll be, your spend up. So obviously, Giannis, great play. I love him when Portis isn't in the starting lineup. He just gets way more production that way. Drew's been playing great, so he's a strong option. I mean, honestly, I love everyone from this first game, and it's kind of piggybacking off of what happened to the Big T on Saturday. I think he like just full stacked this first game, and I just don't see a reason why you don't just go right back to it because obviously we'll talk about it later. But John Moran is doubtful for game 2. The last game with the Warriors blew out Memphis with Jaw playing well. So I do have my concerns about that game too. We'll get into it. But yeah, I mean, you can't really go wrong with, anyone in this game. I'm pretty sure I'm just going to stack it up fully as well and just get a couple value pieces from the second game. But yeah, Giannis, Drew, Brook Lopez, Pat Connaughton are probably my favorite plays from the Milwaukee side. And then Boston, I don't know. We kind of don't expect Tatum to shoot that way again, but it's sometimes series where you feel like it's not that series for that player. And personally, I feel like it's not a series for Jason Tatum. I just feel like Milwaukee has all the answers for him. I'll take the discount with the Jaylen Brown, who's guard and forward eligible. Marcus Smart is only 5,800. That's pretty cheap tag for a guy that's going to play a ton of minutes. And then, how can you not play Al Horford, who's just been playing incredible, in the playoffs? So those 3 guys would be my favorite from Boston: Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Al Horford. I do think Robert Williams ran a little pure with stocks last game, but he's only 5,200 on DraftKings, so I don't mind him as well. But yeah, those would be my favorite: Giannis, Drew, Pat Connaughton, and Brook Lopez from Milwaukee, and then Jaylen Brown, Smart, Horford from the Boston side.
All right. What's NBA tiers?
Yeah. So did someone ask about that? Because I always get DMs from this one guy.
I just like clicked on it and I'm like, what the heck is this?
Okay, so yeah, it's basically like you have tier 1, tier 2, all the way to tier 6, right? And then in tier 1, it's going to give you like your studs on the slate. So you'll pick probably today, it'll be like Giannis, Tatum, Curry in tier 1. And then you have to pick one of those guys. And it's going to be like, well, however many points the guy you pick scored is all added up throughout the tiers. So it's one guy per tier, and it adds up all the scores, and then the highest cumulative score wins. And there's tons of chops because obviously a lot of people have the same combination from each tier. And sometimes it's super obvious. Like, so let's say tier 1 is Giannis, and then it has Ja Morant. Obviously you can't pick Ja Morant, right? So everyone everyone that's playing is going to pick Giannis. And then so everyone has the same tier 1. And then you just go through each tier and you just pick one player from each tier, and then it adds it up. And then, whoever combines for the highest cumulative score, ships the contest or whatever. But yeah, it's funny that you asked, because I have this one guy that always DMs me about tiers, and, I don't play it personally, but, just because he DMs me so much about it, I just give my thoughts about it. And there was actually some edge towards the later end of the season, because some people wouldn't really understand the injury situations, specifically like the OKC Thunder. And, people were not clicking on like Theo Maledon over like a Desmond Bain, like late in the season. Like they would just not do it. So there was some edge there for sure towards the end of the season.
So I'm looking through. So I had some fun with the Saberson this morning and made up 20 lineups, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking for like what I want to play in cash games. The ones that are jumping out to me only have 2 people from the late game. Are you okay with that type of strategy?
Yeah, so I definitely think that's going to be the chalkier build type. I think the way you get different is you play one from the late game. If you
I knew you were going to say that.
You just only play one player from the late game.
Cash, okay, that's cash spread. So I think that's totally fine for cash. I'm just saying for a tournament perspective, like you saw like on Big T Sunday how he shipped. He only had one player, which was Otto Porter from the last game. And if the Optos are pushing, only 2 players from this last game, like that's how you instantly get different in tournaments. But yeah, for a cash game construction, that's totally fine. And that makes perfect sense.
Okay. Excellent. What else you got for this game, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to touch on some other things in this game. Some referee notes. It's Tony Brothers tonight. He doesn't like either team. Like if you look on Twitter, like you see Bucks fans, they're pissed. You see Celtics fans, they're pissed. But some of the numbers that are actually in this, Celtics are just 2-10 in their last 12 playoff games with him officiating. Home teams are 12-2 this round. But do we think Tatum's going to shoot that bad again? Because I think when you look at these
we think that Al Horford and Jaylen Brown are going to shoot lights out again?
I mean, that they've been playing well the last couple of games. They're going to like defer to Horford every time. Horford's going to get the shots because they're going to look at the other 2 guys like we have to stop these guys. Mm-hmm. So you give him wide open shots. He's an NBA player. Should be able to make some of them. So I think he has a decent game still. And I mean, the score was so close. Tatum went 0 for 6 from 3. Mm-hmm. He hits 1-3 spread. We're talking about a whole different situation right now. So, and then Marcus Smart also played a bad game last game. So, I mean, there's some things you got to look at when not just taking the Bucks here with a nice win that they got last game. I think
they were right there. They were right there.
Out of the last 18 free throws in that game,
taking the defending champions with the best player on the floor that are one of the best home teams. I mean, it's not like I'm taking like the Portland Trailblazers here, Tyler.
No, I know, but I don't think they should have won that game. I think they should have blew it. Out of the last 18 free throws in that game, too, only 3 of them were attempted by Boston. That gets a little more even. Different conversation here.
We need Scott Foster at tonight's game.
We don't even need that guy anywhere near NBA. Like,
I seen some stat on Twitter where it said he's like the most accurate NBA ref with calls.
I did see that.
Ridiculous.
I did see that.
Yeah, here it is right here. Scott Foster is the best ref in the NBA. Scott Foster has the highest correct call, 97.6 of all time. And we all hate him.
I stand corrected.
Players hate when they get officiated properly, I guess.
Yeah, is that what we're taking away from this? Okay, well, I'm gonna have to come back with some stats that are anti-Foster. I'm not as up on the referees as you guys. And my guy Robert in the chat, he's always up on that. So yeah, let's. Anything more on this game? Do you want to move on to the next one?
No, just some props I was looking at in this one. Al Horford points plus rebounds because he seems to be more the primary rebounder now than Robert Williams because he's getting more minutes. Points plus rebounds is 20.5. I'll take the over there.
Yeah,
And I'll take the over on Brook Lopez, 17.5 points plus rebounds, because I think that number is too low.
I agree with both of those. What about Bobby Portis? That's what my Brandon Cola, you DM me and you don't watch the show. What's up with that?
Yeah, I
Brandon
mean,
Cola want to know about Bobby Portis.
You could bet his props. My worry though is like I tried to back him last game to get a double, and you seen Lopez had the success, and they just kind of stuck with him most of that game. And Portis didn't get any late run either, so he's not going to get that late run again in this game, which worries me. So I'm not betting any Bobby Portis props.
I mean, I agree with Kevin Clunan here. Let me get one little sidebar, one of my little rants right before we move on.
And another before you go, they went back to reverting how do they call these games last year. Like when they started at the beginning
I know
of the
it's
season,
ridiculous.
Like it was perfect. It was fun to watch. Now the calls are just all ticky tack again. So just wanted to get on that.
Kevin says NBA needs to revise what's really a foul. Just barely bumping a player shouldn't be a foul. I mean, is there a sport that's farther away from the way that we actually like play it as kids? Like if we were all 10 years old and we all went out there to play, right? We're not calling fouls every single play, right? The reason you have an official is to preserve the spirit and the integrity of the game. These guys are out there ticky-tacky, like they work for H&R Block, auditing every single thing. Like, let's go ahead and step back a little. I've been to a lot of NBA games. We had Kings season tickets when I was young. Never heard anyone walking out of the arena going, that was a pretty good game. I just wish they would have called more fouls. You know, I was disappointed. I wanted to see some more free throws. I mean, come on, guys. Brandon Cola sneaking in here, not in the chat, but he is watching the show, so we thank you. All right. He says Portis is 20 and 10 now. I'm sorry for doubting you, Brandon Cola. Boy, my faith was just not there. So I'll be in church on Sunday, and I'll make sure.
Guys in the chat, once you reference this game spread.
If that's a Zach Zarba joke, I'm not happy about it.
I don't think we want.
I don't see Zarba tonight.
No, we don't.
I don't even put anything in my hair. Look, it's like nothing. I like watching.
I'm almost positive he was the head ref for that Dallas game yesterday.
He was.
Yeah,
I DM'd Spread. I was like,
terrible.
I DM'd Spread. I was like, man, I didn't know you were refereeing.
Yeah, he's like, let's go out after the game. I didn't know you were in town. I'm like, this is unbelievable, guys. So, these guys are really trying to fire me up. We're bringing up the tuck roll here. 20 years later. Let my people live, Chris W. All right, let's jump on to tonight's game. Memphis Grizzlies, Golden State Warriors. Warriors minus 10, total 223, plus 432 if you want to get crazy with the Grizzlies on the money line. Here's my take on this game. I don't understand how you're laying 10 with Golden State. And I'm so happy that everyone wants to do it, right? I listened to JSU and Travis this morning. They seem to think it's going to be a blow-up. Everybody thinks that this Memphis team has no chance without Ja Morant. The team that went 20-5 without Ja Morant during the regular season. They have no chance? I don't see that at all. And I'm getting 10 points just on the idea that these guys keep it close. So I do think it keeps it close. Tyler, start with you on your thoughts about the game. And then I can't wait to talk about DFS with Glock, because I'm surprised that these projections are coming out the way they are. Tyler, what do you think? I want to take the plus 10. What do you think?
I think I'm watching you walk right into a pit, and it's not going to be good.
No, I'm getting. Oh my!
But like, I know what you mean, Spread. Like, yeah, they did good in the regular season without him. This isn't the same. Like this playoff basketball. This is in the Warriors arena. They lost by 30 last game, and he put up 34. Mm-hmm. And you just look at some of these stat logs from the playoffs he's played: 32. 23, 16, 11. So there's two bad games right there. 30, 17, 34, 47, 34. Where the hell are you getting this offense from now? Jaren Jackson is going to be in foul
trouble? Didn't we say that about Dallas in game 1 against Utah, and Jalen Brunson puts up 30? It's not like there's
they have other ball handlers. Spread. Desmond Bane's hurt.
There's this guy named D'Anthony Melton. He gets me buckets.
Yeah, but what's he going to do on the defensive end? Those three guys are going to torch them. Like Dylan Brooks, he ain't putting it up enough offense with Steph Curry lighting him up. He's going to be running around screens. Right. Draymond's getting these guys in foul trouble. Brandon Clark doesn't seem like he's fast-footed enough to guard any of these guards and switches. So they can't use him. So you're probably going to see some Kyle Anderson too. I mean, I just don't see it tonight. I think the Warriors blow them out again.
And hey, I mean, Northern California, let us have something, right? The tuck rule, bringing that up still. So hey, it'd be nice. I mean, I wouldn't be mad if I was wrong. Cost me some money. But all right, so I like the Grizz. Tyler likes the Warriors. He said, I agree with JSU. I agree with Mangone. Thinks he's going to bed early tonight, not going to need to stay up to watch the second half of this laugher. What do you think, Locke?
I don't know. I'm kind of looking at this comment in the chat saying I look like Xavier Tillman.
Oh, that's Brandon Cola is famous for the actual absolutely worst.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, like we talked about, like, the general build construction is going to be, heavy on the first game and then lighter on the second game, probably with, some value pieces or some fill-ins. Like maybe you build out your lineup and then you have enough for like a Jaren Jackson or Desmond Bane or Dylan Brooks, and then you fill them in that way. But, I always want to talk about all the different angles, from a DFS perspective. And one way you definitely get different tonight is you stack up the late game. And, I'm curious, make sure you guys turn into up to lock because, I'm curious to see what Big T's takes are because we already got Mangone and JSU's, right? And they do think, they do lean blowout here, and I do as well, right? Maybe if Memphis was actually at home, I would respect them a little bit more. But, it's tough for me to see them hanging in this game just because, like Tyler said, it's the playoffs. It's a totally different beast. And, kind of some things that I've covered on the previous shows with you guys is like, Memphis just tries really hard in the regular season, right? And you just have some teams that aren't that way. Like they just don't really care about the regular season. They're kind of just like whatever with it. They've been there, done that, got the, regular season accolades. So then they just really turn it up in the playoffs. And I feel like Memphis is just so young. They're not at that stage yet to where, they can do that. They always want to prove themselves in the regular season. And obviously guys like Tyus Jones, like when they're fighting for contracts and whatnot, when John Morant is not in front of them and it's their opportunity to shine, they're going to try their hearts out in the regular season. And I'm not saying they're not going to try their hearts out, in the playoffs now, but, the friction, like, versus regular season and playoffs, it's a little different to me. So I agree with Tyler on that point. I do think Memphis, gets blown out and Golden State covers. I just don't think they won't have anywhere, for the offense. Like Jaren Jackson, Dylan Brooks, I think those two cumulatively have the two ugliest shots in the league together. So it's going to be interesting to see them two chuck it up from three all night and see what they can do. But yeah, from a betting perspective, I lean Golden State for sure. And then from the DFS perspective, like I said, Tyus Jones, he's going to be the chalkiest play on the slate, and rightfully so, right? We kind of had the same situation with Derek White when Smart was out, right, for Boston. And Big T kind of said,
he busted for us, though.
Yeah, okay, so same situation, but in my opinion, different player, like way different. I think Tyus Jones is miles ahead of Derek White personally. Like I think he's way more talented. So obviously he's going to be the chalkiest play, and I think he's the strongest value play. So most lineups will have him, no doubt. And so like the way you get different is, like I said, you're going to either just play one piece from the slate game, or you're just going to stack it up or maybe go a little more balanced where it's like half and half, because I think the projections are just too strong from that first fantasy game, like the first game, like from a fantasy perspective, like the projections are just going to be too strong. The game is likely like leaning towards to be more competitive. And yeah, like there's just the uncertainty of John not being in this game. So that's why the optos are going to push that first game. But, I just want to say it again. Like if you want to get different, then you stack it up, right? Tyus Jones, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., Dylan Brooks, DeAnthony Melton. Those guys are going to be, the main producers on the Memphis side and would be, my targets for sure. And then on the Golden State side, you're going to have to play your roulette of the usual guys. But, Steph Curry has looked a lot better recently. Jordan Poole obviously has looked great. And, he's coming off that scandal, I guess, if you want to call it that, the controversy, if he wants to shut some people up and, make people think that it's not lingering on his mind, maybe he comes out and has a big game and kind of shuts people up that way. So he's a great option. Draymond Green is always fine. He has triple-double upside, although, it does feel like sometimes he doesn't want to shoot at all, which is concerning. Andrew Wiggins is really cheap at 5'9" on DraftKings as well, so I like him. And then, yeah, you have like your slate winners last game, like Otto Porter. He was great off the bench, and he actually started in the second half for Golden State. So that was interesting. Jonathan Kuminga, I guess you can use his value, but like I said, he kind of only got there. Like he absolutely nuked in garbage time. So I probably just prefer like someone like Tyus Jones, of course, if I had to pick. But yeah, those would be my interests. If you want to stack up Memphis, definitely get at least 2 of the 3 guys out of Tyus, Desmond, Jaren Jackson, Dylan Brooks, and Melton. Like I would probably go up to 3, get 3 of those guys, and then stack it up with a few of the other Golden State guys. Like I would probably just max one of Poole and Curry. I don't think both of them can get there, but like let's say you start your lineup off with like a Tyus, Bane, Jaren, and then DeAnthony Melton, and then you fade Dylan Brooks. You could like stack it up on the other side with like a Wiggins. He's cheap at 5'9". And then let's just say you take Steph Curry because you're going to need some salary to spend if you're fading Giannis. So, that's kind of the routes I would consider. I don't really want to play Klay off of, one of his best playoff performances. I do think like some of his outlier peripherals that he got last game, like with the rebounds and assists, were somewhat lucky because he's kind of more just like a spot up guy. So I'll probably fade him coming off a big game and then just focus on, Steph, Poole, Wiggins, and Draymond.
All right, well, here, help me out here, because here's something I don't understand. So I just assumed that there would be so much value from this Memphis game, right? We talked about the amount of usage that Ja Morant gets. We're just assuming he's out of the lineup for the sake of this conversation. So now I'm looking, the highest price payer is 6,200. The usage has to go somewhere. I mean, Bane's at 62, Brooks is at 55, Clark's at 54, Melton's at 48. You got to look there.
How much usage you getting out of like 87 points tonight, though? Because that's all they're scoring.
Yeah, they're going to play more like a team, right? They're just going to run a lot of pick and rolls. They're going to spread the ball around. Tyus Jones going to obviously play point guard and try to make plays, and they're going to kick it out to open guys, right? Dylan Brooks is going to chuck a lot. Desmond Bane, he's going to chuck a lot. But will they make the shots is the real question.
Okay, so I shouldn't worry that like these Grizzlies just aren't hitting my builds. No, I didn't really adjust that much. I did a couple of players that I liked. I popped them up.
Yeah, I mean,
and the only one I downgraded was Bane because of the back.
Yeah. I mean, I assume you're going to get Tyus Jones in every lineup. So
right, I was getting him. I'm getting some Zaire, but I thought that my lineup.
I think the 2 guys you want, like maybe not as much want, but I think one of them sneaky. Zaire Williams not being the sneaky one, but I think Dylan Brooks gets into foul trouble tonight. Kyle Anderson's going to have to play extended minutes. God forbid the guards get into foul trouble.
Roster.
It's the rough one.
I'm going to end up doing it. Remember when I said that to you about Danny Green?
Think about it. He could handle the ball. Tyus Jones gets into foul trouble. There goes Melton. Now you're looking around. Brooks is already in foul trouble. Who can handle the ball? Kyle Anderson can. There's nobody else that can on that team at that point.
Dude, it's so hard for me to play an NBA player who looks slower
than
me.
And if you make Bane handle the ball, that's just putting everything on his plate. And you also want him to score with a bad back. Like now you might lose him to injury mid-game. So I think they put the ball in his hands more.
Tyler, go into Up to Lock chat today. Ask Big T, add him, and be like Kyle Anderson.
I already know what I'm getting.
It'll be great though. Just like when these guys put Zarbo in the chat here, just to get me fired up. So yeah, we're definitely gonna have to do that.
Just to hammer that point in, like, just imagine you have all players from this first game, and you land on Tyus Jones in your util. One way you get automatically different is you play Kyle Anderson over Tyus Jones, and you will have a unique build on a 2-game slate.
How many?
Do you guys watch Braveheart before this freak? You guys are so brave.
How many points are you projecting from Tyus Jones tonight?
I mean, his ceiling is high. I feel like he's such a talented player. Like I have like a group chat with my friends, and
I don't think he can defend these guards on the Warriors, and I think that's going to show quick.
I agree.
It's not going to matter because who are they going to replace him with?
I think they're going to have to maybe go with a couple forwards and just Melton as the guard on the floor.
Actually, I don't hate that.
I think Tyus is better than that for sure. But like, I mean, okay, so Derek White, when he was the chalk, right? When Marcus Smart was out, every site was projecting him for 30, right? Or 25 plus.
Yeah, what he coming at 12?
You have the same exact situation here where Tyus Jones is super strong projected, 30 plus point fantasy projection. And let's say you're like on the low side, right? Like you're playing 150 lineups and you want to go lower in on Tyus and you project him at 20. If he gets you 20 and somehow slow-mo gets you 25, you're shipping. Like you're shipping solo because everyone's going to have Tyus in their lineups and not slow-mo. Like that's
in the 3 games he played against the Warriors, 16 minutes, 16, 19. Probably going to have to play more than that here.
He's
17
horrible
fantasy points, 11 and 10. So, I mean, if he gets you into the 20s, you're probably going to have him without anybody else playing him. That's the only thing I see with that play.
I mean, yeah, you just compare
they say,
the ownership.
Just like you said, Spread, you got to talk to Big T about it. They say it all the time. Sometimes you got to get uncomfortable in these 2-game slates.
No, I know you do. I don't like being uncomfortable. I have a pretty good life, man. Like I'm pretty chill. I got my 3-bedroom house by myself. Like I'm a pretty comfortable dude. So it's definitely tough. Here, our guy, We the People, says that I infected you with the defense talk. You're not even going to want, when you tweeted that, how does We the People jump in my mind so much? Remember when you tweeted that about Embiid? With like, let's see your guy do this or whatever. And
the defensive thing.
Guy. I'm thinking of that. Like, We the People probably looks at that and he's like, what am I looking at? Like, he doesn't even have the ball. Like, what am I? Like, I don't get this clip at all. So, a Don Draper I've actually got Don Draper before. So, that one doesn't surprise me as much. Yeah, this isn't the regular season. I mean, I agree with you. I cannot counteract that point. You've got me there. It's not the regular season. So we'll see how it goes there. Did we do totals? Because I forgot to mention, Tyler,
before we get to that, I wanted to touch on one more thing in that Golden State game for DFS wise. We think they blow him out, Glock. Is it still safe to play Jordan Poole? Because he might get some blowout run here.
Oh yeah. I like him more than Curry.
He's the most blowout proof of all.
Would you play him as the single piece in that whole game?
Like, yeah,
you have to have a Grizzlies player, don't you? You can't completely fade.
You don't have to, Spread. I mean, that's how you get different.
This is so crazy.
So different.
I love doing these shows. Doing these shows. If I did this by myself, I mean, I probably would have been like heavy on the Grizzlies. Like, wow.
There's literally no have to. There's no locks in NBA. We get these questions every day. Is Tyus Jones a lock today? We're 100% going to get that in NBA chat. And there's literally no one's ever a lock. So that's why the game is so fun. You can do so many different things.
And this is great, Jake. I forgot to bring this up in both games, and I'll be quick and I'll let you guys break it down. I like the under in both games. I'll start with you, Tyler. I like the under in the Milwaukee game. I actually like that better than the side, even though I'm on the Bucks. And I like the under in this game. And I'm guessing you do too, because if you put the Grizzlies at 87 to go over 223, right? That's going to be a 60-point win.
Like just for like a little preview on what we're going to do with the parlay tonight, Celtics in the under, Warriors in the under.
Yeah.
But for that first game, definitely give me the under 212.5. In the 8 playoff games for the Bucks this year, they're 8-0 to the under.
Yep.
And since 2019, they're 15-6 to the under at home, 25-15-1. It sits at 212 tonight because they played an increased pace last game. Mm-hmm. But the points stayed right where they were at in the first 3 games, 195, 190, 204. I don't see them getting to 212. I think the books are kind of banking on these teams both having good shooting games too, because they haven't yet. But I think this is just going to be a physical, low-scoring series. Like, you're not going to get a ton of points out of either team. So give me the under in that first one for sure.
I like them in both games. Glock, what's your thought on them?
I'm with you guys for sure on that Golden State game. Like, I'm not like betting as heavily as you guys. I'm more on the DFS side, but I always hear the term it takes 2 to hit an over under, right? Like, or an over. So I mean, if we think one side is going to get blowout, which definitely do, then definitely take the under. I think that's a super strong play for sure.
All right, I think I'm going to throw a little parlay in on both unders too, just for fun. A little $50 or $100 bet. That'll be fun. All right. What else do we got from this slate before we call it a show?
Adam G says 7-1 build. Yeah. I mean, definitely going to have a lot of those tonight. No doubt for sure. And I'm sure Big T will as well. Anytime you think one game is going to blow out, you just want to go heavy on the other side and catch the one piece or the value play on that blowout game, which will get there. And, go look at the slate review on Saturday where it was the exact same 2 teams where Memphis got blown out without Ja Morant. If you think the same thing happens here, then, you can assume a similar build structure will win again tonight.
Tyler, my last question for you here before we give out the best bets. I'm going to take Memphis. I'm going to grab the points. I'm going to be on an island here. But I don't know if you guys watched that show Lost. There was like a polar bear on the island or a grizzly bear or something, right?
Maybe there was a lot of stuff that went wild on that island as that show went on.
a lot of
people
smoke.
living
There was a
under the
smoke
island.
monster on that island too.
Yeah.
So maybe the smoke monster's infected my brain here. But Tyler, so I'm gonna take that, but I need to wait, right? There's no way Memphis takes money. I'm gonna get 10. It's 10 right now on Bookmaker. I'll get 10.5 by tip, right?
The only way Memphis this number moves is if Jaws rolled in somehow, which I think
Well, then I don't want it.
I think would hurt him because I think it would hurt him
because he's not
because
100%.
It's not 100%, and I got a hot take. I think he tore something in that knee. I don't think this is the same thing with Kawhi's injury last year. It's a knee injury, and that's it. No one else is saying anything. Just a knee injury. It's never been deemed a hyperextension of this, anything else, a torn meniscus. They're just being quiet about it. It's going to come out in a few weeks when he misses another game after this that he's got to get surgery because he tore something.
We didn't really talk about it. What did you guys think of that play? Like, what side do you guys lean on?
Like, I think it was just like, I'm not going to say it was a dirty play, and you shouldn't be grabbing at each other's knees, but like the ball was right there, and from the other angle, he barely grabbed his knee. Like, if he did anything, he scratched his kneecap with his fingernail. But I think, did you see the other play where he went to block the three and he kneed Clay and he instantly jumped to his other leg? I think that's when he initially hurt the knee. And as the game went on, I think that's as he tore it. I think he like partially tore it, didn't realize it, fully tore it as the game went on.
Yeah, the interesting part about that play was like the ball was like way above his knee, and then somehow like the ball's here, right? And then you have the hand coming in like lower than the ball and grabbing, like making the grabbing thing. And I'm like,
but did you see from the other angle where like he barely, like his fingers barely grab a hold of his knee? Now, if he like held onto the knee and pushed him forward, then it'd be like, okay, yeah, you don't do that.
Yeah, I lean on the same side as you for sure, Tyler. I don't think it was dirty at all. What do you think, Spread?
Yeah, I'm so pro Warriors and pro Northern California. I'm not a good judge. I didn't think it was that big a deal, but I was all upset at Dylan Brooks, so I don't want to be too much about Homer or whatever on that part there. So I'd have to rewatch it, but
it's funny because like you just see the parallels of both fan bases, you know, in these playoffs, like just amplified to like the next level. Because like obviously I'm a Mavs fan, right? And then I see Suns tweets and they're like, oh my God, Luka is such a flopper. And then, you know, on their side, they have Chris Paul who like invented it and is like that master of flopping. So I just think it's fun to see both sides of, you know, the each situation for sure.
Did you see in the game when Luka and Chris Paul were talking? And
Luka was
like, I learned that from you.
Yeah. Jason Kidd said in the press conference.
Same thing.
Yeah. Jason Kidd said in the press conference after the game, he was like, we're learning from the best on the other side. He did it with a little grin, and you know, I just thought that was hilarious. It was a great, you know, quote from J Kidd. And We the People says, to be fair, Luka's a flopper. Yeah, man.
They're all floppers.
You have to.
I'm convinced every superstar in the league is a flopper because they know they can get the calls.
Yeah,
find me one superstar outside of maybe
Jimmy
Kawhi
Butler?
Leonard. I mean, Jimmy knows he's going to get the calls. Some of them calls he got last night weren't.
I mean, what is Devin Booker? Is Devin Booker not a flopper? Go look at the pictures he has when people are guarding him. He's like he's getting killed.
I mean, Embiid's almost 300 pounds and he's on the ground more than like a guy.
Yeah, but that's
like
terrible. It's terrible that he does that.
It's something to gain a competitive advantage, right? And the best players know how to do it. Like, it's just the sad reality of it. And you know, if you're a good player, you know how to get to the line. That's just a simple fact. And obviously, the game has changed to where, you know, obviously you could be more physical in the past.
Well, that's on the refs. They need to start rewarding that. So it starts from the top. So yeah, let's not get on the players for it.
Agreed.
I got to jump in here though, because he's joining me on Memphis Island. He's coming over to the dark side. I cannot wait. By next season, Tyler, we're going to have defensive breakdowns from We the People in the chat. I can't wait to see it. Let's move to the best bets. What do you got for us tonight? Best bet, Glockoma.
Yeah, I'm going to go Milwaukee -1 at home. I don't know if that was your best bet Spread, but that'll be my best bet. I think Giannis continues to crush and Milwaukee takes a 3-1 lead against Boston. But I think it'll be a sweat. I think it's going to be a close game throughout. And then it's going to be kind of similar to last game where we kind of edge out the -1. I don't think it'll be a comfortable win, like kind of the ones we had like with the Mavs. But yeah, I think it'll be a close game, and then Milwaukee edges it out at the end.
All right. Sounds good. Tyler, what is your best bet for today?
Give me the under in that game, under 212.5. I don't see them getting there.
All right. Under 212.5. I like the under 2, but I'll give out the Grizzlies plus 10. I'll be on that island
Ooh,
here.
spicy.
Yeah, maybe I'll find my own Kate. Or who was the other girl? Oh, anyways, I'll figure that out by tomorrow. I got to rewatch it. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. But wait, do we have a parlay, Tyler?
Yeah, I made one little one with we're going to go with Golden State minus 10, which kind of contradicts your pick you just gave.
No, it's fine because people can listen and take what they want.
And the under 223 in that game.
Love it.
Boston money line under 212 in that game. It gets you 11-1 on FanDuel when you combine them.
All right, there we go. And of course, we'll be very interested to see how they deal with this Grizzlies value or no value tonight here. Of course, as part of the Run Pure Sports YouTube network. They will be on the final countdown. If you're not a member, head on over to runpuresports.com. Use that promo code GETBETS. That will give you access to the live show. Ask the questions in the Discord, not on the YouTube link. And Glock, I usually watch. I don't always talk. A lot of time I'm walking around, getting some sunshine. You know, I'm out. I'm in front of this computer all morning, right? I need to get a little bit of balance in my life, but I love listening to the show. And you were on there a couple times this week, right? Let them know where they can find you this week.
Yeah, I'll as usual, I'll always be on there Tuesdays and Thursdays. Anytime there's a slate, and I'm pretty sure this week there will be. So Tuesday and Thursday will be the Mavs slate. So yeah, I'll be on there with Big T and JSU breaking it down. If I'm not on there, obviously Big T and JSU will be on there every single day covering it anytime there's games. So yeah, be sure to check out the Up to Lock show. Like Spread said, it's always something good to have on. Like, let's say you already have your lineup set, right? And then you kind of set on a path. Like, it doesn't hurt you to, take in information from someone else. And maybe Big T or JSU says something that, maybe triggers your mind to think about it a different way. And, you like that route. It never hurts to listen to someone else and have different takes. So be sure to tune into Up to Lock. I think it's one of the best things RPS does. We answer any questions. If you're having like a 1v1 question or a 2v2 or 3v3, we're happy to answer that and help steer you in the right direction. So yeah, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'll be on Up to Lock with the boys. And then other than that, we're always going to have our usual playbook, cores, cash chart, AP's heat map, everything under Run Pure Sports.
All right, looking forward to hearing you break that down tomorrow night. Jake the Degenerate giving out a bonus baseball play. He says, I'd take Dodgers team total over 4.5. Easy money against Quintana. Don't know who that is, Jake, but I usually tell Joey and JJ, so I'll add that one to the portfolio as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow with Travis Mangone. He's going to spoil everything on the morning show if you watch that. But we'll be there discussing everything, seeing how these things go, see how this build works for me tonight. Using some Saber Sim, not just going blind tonight, Glock, not just listening to you guys and using the core plays, punching some numbers. So of course I'll give you those results. Tyler and I going head to head on both games. So somebody's going to be bragging, somebody's going to be crying tomorrow. Make sure you tune in to see that. Run Pure.